6,000 metric tons of dengue sitting in the warehouses of the county. And the biggest challenge became a market access challenge, not because there's no demand.
It is live at the Nairobi Securities Exchange in conjunction with KTN News today, relaunching season 3 of Trading Bell. We'll continue keeping up with that event right here on News Center. But in studio, we are discussing youth and leadership. We have with us Dunstan Gitonga, who is the chairman of Young Democrats Tharaka Nithi, and Canario Kanebo, a contestant for MCA position in the last elections. Before we took that break, Dunstan, Canario mentions, many times youth have very proper intentions while running for political seats, but the many that we've seen being elected in the recent election seem to have been pocketed or eaten into this, political division that is in Parliament. How are youth likely to change that, especially as a chair of Young Democrats Tharaka Nithi? How can we stop party politics from interfering with youthful ambitions?
Thank you. I think it's time that we get to a point where we don't do politics with party alignment. Mm-hmm. You've seen a situation whereby people have been elected as independent candidates. People have sponsored themselves for the elections. Mm-hmm. But also, as much as we'd also want to encourage that kind of independence, when you get to the system, as you're saying, when you get to Parliament, when you get to Senate, there are cartels who form that entire system. Mm-hmm. And if you're not going to work with the system, you are going to be sidelined. If you represent, for instance, if I represent Tharaka Nithi, and I don't belong to any party, but I want something from the government which is led by a leader who is aligned to a political party, mm-hmm. definitely I won't get anything. I won't get any national projects. Mm-hmm. So I just have to be compromised, because we've not fought the idea of you must be part of the system for you to get something. Mm-hmm. So what is happening when these people get to Parliament? They have to comply. You have to comply to the system, mm-hmm. to the leadership in the country.
Sure. And that there is the bigger problem. How do we change the system? Canario, let's discuss your experience contesting for MCA in the recent elections to begin with, because many feel like if we had more numbers and more youth in Parliament to balance it out, then the situation could be different. But how was your experience?
My experience was just the same as we hear every day. You get on the ground, you have all the disadvantages a young person can have, ranging from the cultural differences and everything. When I was vying, my opponent, who happened to be older than me, they were like, when a young man is standing, cannot see as far as an old man can see when they're seated.
Really?
You're like, that. It doesn't make sense. It's not about who is sitting or who is standing. And I was asking some of the older folks, like, if you have children in school, you have your daughters, your sons, you're sending them to school. You mean when they come from campus and they decide, like, I feel I have a calling, I want to do this, you tell them, no, wait until I'm dead, so that, until you're old enough or I'm out of this world, so that the young people can vie. So for me, it was very different, considering that where I come from, there's never been a lady running as a political aspirant. Mm-hmm. So it was very different. It was funny in a way, but I was set to change that thinking in people, and I made sure I do that. With everything that was coming against me, they were like, they made up something like, oh, this is a lady, she'll get married very far away from here. If we give her our vote, she will travel to another land, get married, then she will go with our seat. Mm-hmm. So I was like, if I've not gone for that long, what makes you think I will go now? Mm-hmm. So I faced all those challenges to make sure the people who come after me, they don't face the same challenges. So in the next election, a young lady can decide to run and the ground will be fair, because I started it and they know it can happen. So I want the same thing to happen. When youth are sitting aside there and waiting for other people to do it, it will never be done. You have to stand up, you have to do whatever you can, even if you are just somebody who will sit behind the computer and make some movement, just do it, because small changes will amount to bigger changes when the market, when there are many people, there are high chances of us getting many people out there, either ladies or young people.
Absolutely. And we're talking about youth being the majority of the population, really. So when it comes to harnessing the power of the youth demographic, let's talk about the cultural and societal barriers that come in, Danson, because as Canario mentions there, many are not used to voting for those younger than them. They don't believe that they're wise enough. They don't believe that they can deliver. But that's not the only problem. Even youth do not believe in the power of fellow youth to represent them. How can we change that social structure?
Thank you. Number one, I think I can confirm with my sister what she's saying. We have traditions. I call them traditional beliefs that I must be wealthy, number one, for me to be elected to any position. Number two, I have to be a man in the sense that I have to be a male gender. Number three, I must be old. So what exactly we need to do for this country? And I will say this with an example somewhere. I have a friend who is a member of parliament in Chuka, Igambangombe, Honorable Patrick Oneni. He's a young guy. The kind of leadership this guy is doing for the constituency, it's amazing. Very good work. Very nice organization of the projects. We need to get to a point as the youths of this country and stop being enemies of ourselves, number one. We need to preach a gospel of believing in ourselves. I cannot face an old man or an old mama somewhere, convince them if I don't have a backup of my fellow youths. If I don't have a backup of some youths who have been into leadership and they have made it. So if we can have an example of so many Patrick in this country, we are able now to change this mentality from our people. That if I am a youth, I have more energy to fight for any project at the national level. If I am a young person, I don't have to steal to get to facilitate or finance our next election. If I'm a youth, I can be independent to even criticize actually the national government.
Right.
So we just need to change the mentality. We need to preach to our fellow youths that we need to believe in ourselves. We need to support ourselves so that we can take this country. We have fresh brains that can take this country to a different level. We can reason better than some of the crises I'm seeing in the country. We are lending too much. We are borrowing too much, from international communities. When we have a country which has enough resources for everyone, we are launching projects which are not supposed to impact the common mwananchi directly. They are meant actually to just siphon from them big tenders that we have to intimidate contractors from other countries so that they give us some money so that we have money for campaign. It's a culture, it's a traditional belief which is very wrong for this country.
All right, and I mean, he seems to think it's more of a culture and a traditional belief. But like we've been saying, at the end of the day, it all boils down to bad politics or bad governance. Canario, I don't know if you're looking to contest again in the next election, but is it as easy as standing up and saying, I can challenge those who've come before me, when you're still, relying on political party sponsorship in your future election?
I think the best thing to do, yes, it is possible, very possible for youth to do this, and for any other young person out there to stand up, whether with the party or without the party. Sometimes the parties can be misleading because most of the time they front their own candidate that they want to take a certain area. Like for me, I had challenges because I went to the party because I believed in myself and I believed that I can contest in the primaries and win. But in the primaries, they were not as fair, so it ended up becoming chaos and what have you. But I wanted, first of all, to test the system to see whether it can work for a disadvantaged person. So I went, it was bad, so I went as an independent candidate. You see, I've wasted time and finances while trying to get into the party because there's no fairness in the party, I ended up being disadvantaged. But I was determined to fight through. In the party, they will try to sit you down and tell you, as a young person, wait for nomination, let us front this other candidate, you can work together. But we need to stop being set out. Once you have an agenda of pursuing it, just go for it. Don't let the party tell you, if they don't want you in their party, go as an independent candidate. And from the onstart, it is good if you don't have a clear party that you know you can get good results or they can be fair, just start up as an independent candidate, because that's allowed in our constitution. So just start like that, not to be disadvantaged. Believe in yourself, go sell yourself. People have proven that they can really support young leaders. We've seen people who don't have money get elected to parliament, like our Igembe MP, the young one. Didn't have any money, but people voted him in. So you just have to sell your agenda to the people, and there need to be a lot of sensitization on the matter of, you think their work is just to push the leaders, to be behind them, the decoration politics. They need to participate by themselves, because it is possible. Once you show up and you show that you have integrity and you can be a good leader, you can be trusted with people's money, then they will vote you in. Just go for it.
All right. Let's discuss leadership at the grassroots level, away now, from political representation. Damson, youth have a lot of complaints in this day and age, from unemployment to runaway corruption to too much borrowing in the country, issues of insecurity, matters education, a lot of complaints. But how then can youth, the voice of the youth, be a key participant in the decision making on a national level? Issues like Huduma number, for example, issues like the CBC when it comes to matters education. How can youth at the grassroots level actively make their voice heard?
Thank you. Now, I think what we need to do as a country, number one, we must believe in the leadership of consultations. I am talking about consultation because for this reason, you've talked about the CBC issue, which the government is so much into implementation. Nobody understands exactly what is competence-based curriculum. Nobody. And if they are there, they are very few. Maybe the system, the ministry itself. The other day, I was watching a member of parliament, not even, they were three. They were complaining that even the parliament itself was not consulted. They don't even understand. If a member of parliament does not understand a program that the government wants to implement, what do you think that youth down there, who is expected to be an engine of implementation, will do? Nothing. Number two, I was talking about the issue of consultation, the issue of empowerment, the issue of giving information to the youth. We will continue making our voices, but landing on deaf ears. We have county government at the grassroots. They don't remember probably the last time they ever had a forum for the youths to understand exactly what needs to be in the implementation of their projects. So basically, it is also a culture. I'll keep talking again about a culture. It is a culture that we've developed. It's an attitude by the leaders who are in governments, both at the national level and the county level. We don't feel like youth have anything to offer.
Until it's election time.
Until it is election time, that is when now we become agents of campaign and machinery for campaign.
Absolutely.
It's an attitude, and it's an attitude that we must fight.
And so let's talk solutions as we wind up this conversation, because we've highlighted a lot of problems for the youth. But how can we finally change this scenario? Are you looking to run again in the next election? And how do you think the landscape will have changed for you, not just as a woman, but as a young woman?
Michelle, I intend to still be in politics. If I'm not running, I'll be doing something actively to make sure that disadvantaged woman or young person out there has a good advantage. And now that we've spoken a lot of problems that or challenges that the young people go through, the bottom line is there is no way matters regarding young people will be discussed to change or help them positively without them being involved. So I can say there is nothing for us without us there. Every round table that they sit to make decision concerning youth or future of this country, youth need to be there. They are the biggest population in the country. There's no way decision concerning youth can be made by people who are not youth, because they'll be focused on their own agenda. They will not focus on what's affecting this country. So many young people are unemployed, and there's no way they can achieve, the government can achieve the Vision 2030 without addressing the issues that are affecting youth health-wise. The mental health has become a problem that needs to be tackled. There needs to be set a ministry aside that deals with youth issues only, not to be mixed with culture and other things, youth only, to make sure that the problem is tackled so that they can move to the next thing. If they are to eradicate corruption, they should consult youth so that they can know what their opinion is, to make sure the country moves forward and they're included and there's space.
Absolutely. Danson, as we wind up, the voice of the youth in the previous election was quite strong, really. We saw in some areas, you know, a whole county government, or county assembly rather, being swept out, an entirely new crop of leaders being brought in. With the issues youth are facing now, and with the championship for youth leadership now, how is this likely to change the outlook for youth in the next 3 years as we head to the next election?
Michelle, it's very simple. We may make a lot of noise, but if we don't make noise that as a focus and as a target, we will continue languishing in poverty as the youths of this country.
All right.
It is very simple. We must fight for our space. And we must encourage the youths in this country to fight for their space. Number two, we must fight for the implementation of the provisions. And number three, and this is something I've said continuously whenever I am addressing, that we must amend the Constitution. Whether we'll do a referendum, whether it will be done in other authorities that are mandated to do the amendment of the law, we must amend the Constitution so that we can incorporate